Our first speaker will be Robert Bianchi, who is an attorney and has followed in his father's legal footsteps. Robert Bianchi is an achiever and a recipient of many awards. He currently serves as the Morris County prosecutor, is also certified as a criminal trial attorney, and there aren't many in that position. He has been the second vice president of the State Sons of Italy and the former vice president of the National Sons of Italy. That's just a couple of examples of the talent that this young man from Providence College and Seton Hall Law School has accomplished. His list of accomplishments would take too long, but I certainly look forward to turning over the podium to him, and he will speak on the topic of Italians ensuring justice.
Thank
Mr. Bianchi.
Good morning. First of all, thank you, Gilda, for the opportunity to speak before you folks, and it's really a great honor to be on the dais with my father, who was obviously a very strong influence both as my Italian-American culture is concerned and being an attorney, because my dad's an attorney, a great trial lawyer, and somebody I emulated. Now, just to give you fair warning, I'm on 2 hours sleep because we had a shooting last night in Morris County. It's my honor and privilege to be the Morris County prosecutor, and as part of that responsibility, I think it's important for me to be out at those kind of crime scenes. And I want to also let you know that Gilda came up to me and said the other speaker has just been noted, isn't here, so is there any possibility I could speak a little bit longer? You don't ask an attorney a question like that. It's quite obvious. We will be able to do that, and even on 2 hours sleep, Gilda, I will accommodate. But in all seriousness, this is ensuring justice. I thought a lot about this, and I don't have prepared remarks for you, but I'd like to give you a couple of observations. I'm going to use Morris County as a little bit of a microcosm as an example, because it's not typically noted as being one of those counties that has a very large Italian-American population. Nevertheless, the county prosecutor, for those of you who don't know, which I'm honored to have been given this opportunity 4 years ago, is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. We're responsible for, obviously, prosecution of every kind of case, from drug cases, gang cases, gun cases, homicide cases, as well as being responsible for managing and supervising all the local police agencies. And in Morris County, we have 44 law enforcement agencies, 39 towns. It's a big county. But even though it wouldn't be typically identified as being necessarily an Italian community, let me talk to you about some of the people who are ensuring justice, some of those people who are in charge of government, if you will. A county administrator, John Benani. We have 2 state senators, the only 2 state senators currently there, who are both Italian Americans. We have, obviously, the county prosecutor, who's an Italian American, a first assistant prosecutor, and a chief. It just so happened to work out that way in my office that are Italian Americans. And when you look at the judiciary, and when you look at the amount of people who are Italian Americans that run government in Morris County, a place not typically associated with Italian Americans, it becomes obvious that Italian Americans are making a huge contribution. Now, even on the political side of that equation, you have a county chairman of the Republican Party and a county chairman of the Democratic Party who are Italian Americans. And I note this for a reason. I could have Googled and come up with you with a list of people. You've heard it before. I've been coming to these things for 40 years in one fashion or another. We could talk a lot about discrimination. I've listened to all these conversations, and you have as well. But I want to give you anecdotal an understanding of some of the things that are occurring today, currently, as it relates, in my opinion, to Italian Americans as opposed to the past, and how it affects ensuring justice. And I'm not just talking about justice for the courtroom. I'm talking about justice for us as Italian Americans. With all those people that I listed that are in government, that are Italian Americans in Morris County, I have to wonder, when I was being vetted for this position, and I believe qualified for this position, why it was that people were blogging on the newspapers about a Dago becoming a prosecutor again in Morris County, about the corruption of an Italian-American prosecutor who's being considered for nomination. And I watched this with great interest, these blogs, the social media that's going on, and I noticed that when comments are made, let's face it, people are vitriolic, people come from a bad place, people like to vent, they do these things in these blogs. But whenever it is about an Italian-American, it stays up. But if it's about an African-American, a Hispanic-American, they're quickly removed and deleted by the media. It's a fact I know firsthand because I've seen it happen to me over and over again. There have been numerous references to Italians in a derogatory fashion in all facets of government that are still the acceptable social prejudice, the only remaining one for any ethnic group, in my opinion, in this country. And we talk about this, so we've been talking about it for, at least for me, I've been listening to this for 40 years about what do we do? What can we do to change this? We've all gone to the seminars and the lectures. I'm just talking to you about what's going on now. Now, we also had a community affairs unit in the prosecutor's office. I started it. The community affairs unit was very important to me so that we outreach to the community. Typically, prosecutors' offices are kind of like on that ivory tower out there. People really don't know what they do until a subpoena is being dropped on them or somebody's doing a witness interview. I felt it was important to let people know that I'm your prosecutor. I'm there to protect you. My job is to provide a service for you, that I work for you. And if you can help me in my job by providing information or intelligence or just so that we can dialogue with one another to get to know each other, that's important. So we reached out to virtually every ethnic group in Morris County. We reached out to the business community. We reached out to the faith-based communities. We reached out to the education community in order to build these bridges. And I say this for a reason. We started running a number of community affairs-related events honoring whatever that particular ethnic group's month was, say Hispanic History Month, Black History Month, and Irish History Month, Asian History Month. And as we were going through this process of doing this, no one ever said a word about it. But then came Columbus Day and Italian American History Month. And we honored some unbelievably incredible people. And then all of a sudden the media is coming to me and asking, why is it that you're having an Italian American celebration? Now, it's unbelievable to me, and I was agitated. I have to be honest with you. I said, you were at the Black one, the Hispanic one, the Asian one. Why didn't you ever ask me that question with regard to any of those other groups? But now you're asking me because my name ends in a vowel and we're doing it with Italians. And it got printed. Why are they doing this? And I can't help but think they were laying in wait for the Italian one to happen because that's the only thing that made sense. So we know that this culture is imbued with this particular problem. So I have no answers or solutions, but I can say one last story to you that I'd like to talk to you about in terms of myself personally. When I was being vetted for this job, and it's an appointment by the governor, and you have to have the consent of the Senate, I think, at least in the history of my understanding of politics, it was probably the first time that some Italian American groups spoke up. Now, I've been involved with these Italian American groups for, like I said, 40 years. But I went to a number of those groups and said, could you write a letter for me? Here are my credentials. You know me. And I was a little disheartened, to be honest with you. Let's say it like it is, that only one group decided to write a letter. Only one. I asked for a simple letter of support. Now, if you don't think I'm qualified, I get that. If you think that I don't deserve the job, I get that. But what I would hear is, Bob, you're very qualified. We're proud to have you, but we just don't do that kind of thing. That has to stop. This is the reason why we're neutered. I see some young folks here, and there's a girl. Raise your hand with the red shirt over there. Raise your hand. There she is, my niece, Chelsea. She's embarrassed now. Look at the people around you. Look in front of you. Look behind you. I've talked about this as a now second vice president for the Sons of Italy in the state level. I was the national vice president for the Commission for Social Justice. We had gone out there working with other Italian American groups. But the bottom line is everybody asked the same question. Do you guys know this question? Where are the young people? Are you guys familiar with this? Anyone that's involved in any Italian American group is asking the same question. And I'm going to give you two answers to the reason why you see so few young people in the room. The first is, with all due respect, people need to start putting the youth in positions of leadership so they have an investment in the organization. that with, again, I'm getting old. I'm at a point where they're like, well, we have you. You're a young guy. You call me a young man. I'm 48 years old. I can't relate to these young people that, as well. I mean, when they look at a dais and they see people who don't know what the internet is, that don't have a Facebook account, that don't know about social media, and they turn around and say, you know, we got to get young people, it is going to fail. With all due respect to anyone with any organization, I implore you to give up the ego, to release the, I watch some of these organizations fighting with who's going to be the president. Who's going to be the president? Who's going to be this and who's going to be that? And all that's happening as I watch from afar, because I try not to engage from a place of negative behavior, is thinking to myself, in 20 years, if this continues, these Italian-American organizations will be extinct. No question. So what do we have to do for these young people? A second thing. We need to empower them like every other group does. One further anecdotal story. I started the Italian-American Bar Association in the state of New Jersey. We didn't have one. We're one of the only states that didn't have one. And on a national level, they would turn and say, how could it be with 40% of the population being Italian-American, you don't have a bar association? So we started one, and it wasn't easy to convince people to join it. And when I said to them that we need to start a prosecutorial and judicial appointment committee that the New Jersey State Bar Association has, that the county bar associations have, that the African American Bar Association has, that the Hispanic Bar Association has, that the Asian American Bar Association has, you know what the answer I got? No, we don't need that. We don't need that. And what I explained to them is I understand we have come far. I understand we have positions of prominence. But don't complain why another group got a judge in place, why another person got elected, why another prosecutor who is not better qualified didn't get the job. It can be disheartening, but we have to rip the Band-Aid off, and people have to start to understand to bring these young people in. I have one last thing to say. Not only do they need to be empowered in positions, but we also, if you're in the business community, when I moved to Morris County, I came from Essex County. I didn't know anyone in Morris County. And I needed to, when I got my house, I needed to have a plumber. I needed to have an electrician. We needed to have a mason. Those are the three things I remember. Where can I go to find someone who belongs to my group, to your group, to our group? The people in the business community that I want to go to, if I don't know anybody, you know where I went to? The Yellow Pages. I mean, that's because I had no tools given to me by the organ, and I did. I contacted. Do we have a list of plumbers? I'm not looking for a break, but if you're a member of my organization, if we're simpatico with one another, if we're brothers and sisters in the same cause, I'd rather go to a book of people that are part of my group as opposed to going to the Yellow Pages. We need to start empowering our business community. It's amazing. I'm sorry to go off. I mean, I'm on 2 hours sleep, so forgive me. Keep going. All right. I told you, Joe, you asked if a lawyer could talk. It's amazing to me, guys, that we're going to ask these young people who are looking at this, to them, old man, to be involved in an organization and yet provide them nothing in return. We can talk about the difference between gravy and sauce. I don't mean to be pejorative. We could talk about meatballs and waking up on Sunday and smelling the gravy and the Bianchi man and all that. It's like bouncing off the young people. I barely get it at 48. They're not getting it at all. So I challenge these groups to stop talking about the negative stereotypes. Yes, they're out there. These TV shows that are allowed to be produced and trying to take them off the air, it will never happen. They're making too much money. We need to present the positive image of Italian Americans. We need to empower our Italian Americans. So listen, to you young folks that are here, and I know it's going through your mind because I talk to a lot of young people, and you may be asking what's in it there for you. And it's not a selfish question. Your time is limited. Your time is precious. Their time is limited and precious. They've got more on their plates in terms of time than you or I ever had when we were their age. The world is moving like lightning. I can tell you, I get phone calls from the press saying, can you tell me about the murder case that's going on? And I'm like, I'll have to get back to you. I'm like, is there a murder going on? I mean, they know before I even know. That's how fast news is happening. These kids' time is really limited. They are not going to be involved in an organization that talks about the old times, that talks about what it used to be, that talks about negativity, that talks about stereotypes. It's all got its place. But what you've got to provide to them is opportunity. And I suggest that we do something in this organization and all of these other organizations, do something so that when these young people that start to have families and their time are limited know being a member of one of these groups is something that is going to be a positive difference in my family's life. So I issue that challenge to these groups. It's the only way, folks, that we're going to be able to combat what's happening here and in order to keep these kind of groups alive. So I've spoken long enough, and I know my father is going to come up and he's going to give you a few words, but I know we have maybe a little extra time if I haven't gone too long, and I'd love to answer some questions for you, but make no mistake about my comments are direct. I'm a serious person. I kid around too, but I mean, I'm serious about this issue. I'm passionate about the Italian-American issue. I fought the fight against politicians who've been inappropriately attacked, Indian chiefs that have been attacked, anybody who's been attacked because they're Italian-American and painted with that bad brush. I've done it, but I know more now than I did before. And I know now that what happened with me, where one group supported me for the job, needs to be something that is replicated over and over again so that we can bring the youth back into something where being an Italian-American is something to be proud of, not to feel like you should be disgraced. Thank you.